So let's get started with the class today. So the class today, I will show you the main difference between a project management methodology and Agile project management. So the traditional project management methodology and the Agile project management methodology. So that is the class today. What do you see in the picture that you have on your screen? What is that? What is that thing here? Why do you think I put that image to open the class today? Why do you think that? We have in project management two major methodologies. One that we call what we call a linear project management. And we have another way of working projects that we call adaptive project management. How we do that in a linear project management? We have some phase. We have a pre-project phase. Then we move to the project initiation. I'm using the PMI methodology. Then we have planning. Then we have execution. And then we have the closing. Okay? And we call that that methodology, usually we call that waterfall as well. You can call for linear. I prefer linear, but anyway, we can call waterfall because in each stage we have the output of the previous stage feeding the activities of the next stage. So we have things like that. And that resembles a waterfall. So that's why people call that waterfall. In Agile project management, in adaptive project management is a little bit different, okay? We may have a pre-project phase. Then we may have some initial work. I can call that initiation because it's pretty close. But then we do something different here. We be planning and executing the project in some phases. So we do the planning for some aspects of the project. We execute that plan, then we come back and plan again. So we work in cycles. And because we work in cycles, we can adapt the project to the current requirements of the client. So we have two different approaches, okay? Always, I like to use that idea that as a project manager, we are organizing the work, the project work. And we can organize the project work following a linear project management or adaptive project management. A lot of people call adaptive project management as Agile, okay? There are some methodologies within Agile, okay? One of the methodologies within Agile is the Scrum methodology, okay? But there are others methodology here, okay? There are other things of working Agile. I'm just talking about Scrum. As the waterfall, we have also some methodologies. The most known is the one that's from the PMI. But we also have the European organization. I forgot the acronym, but in Europe, they have an organization that is different now. It has a waterfall methodology in that as well. So what is important here? What is important? That we'll be comparing both methodologies. We'll be comparing them. Try to understand when to use the linear project management methodology and when to use the adaptive project management methodology. So the class today will be focused on comparing and contrasting both methodologies. What do you see in front of on the screen now? What is that? Yes, that is a a project plan. That's a project plan. A project plan to build a house. Actually, it's not just a plan, but it's the execution plan and execution to build a house. So we start with the design here, then we move for the structure, foundation, walls, roof, then we have finishings, and then we have the house. It's important to understand that in that type of a project, we plan for the entire product that is delivered by the project. So what is the product? The product is the house. So we plan for the entire house. So the planning is to build the entire house. We analyze, schedule, assign resources, estimate budget for the entire house. We lay down a scheduling with all the activities to build the entire house. And in that case, we go and do in a what we call linear way of developing the product, okay, in a linear way. And there are some reasons why we do that. First, the activities are well known. So the activities are well known. Second, so it's well known all the steps that you have to do to build a house. Second, the value of the house, the value of that product is when we deliver the entire house. If you just deliver the foundation, it has no value for the customer. We need to deliver the entire house at once. Okay, so there are two things here. Steps to build a house are very well known, and then the value of that project has just value when you deliver the entire house. So that's a very important concept, because why in this type of project we use linear project management methodologies. That's why in that type of project we go and use what we are learning: pre-project phase, initiation, planning, execution, and closing. That's why we do projects like that, because that methodology is suitable for that type of product. Well, when we look, use the visuals we have been using in our course since the beginning. When we are working a project, we start in the pre-project phase. In that pre-project phase, usually we have a high-level idea of the project, and that's why we are showing that product in a kind of fuzzy way, because we don't know the details. Once we go for the project initiation and we start writing down the customer requirements, we can have a better understanding of the project. It's not completely clear, but during the initiation, when you write down and approve the requirements with the client, we have a very good idea. Then, when we start the planning, we start talking with people that know the tasks, how to do things, what needs to be done, what are the predecessors, and so on. And now we start having a much better understanding about the project activities. That's why in that phase, we start with the WBS, in which we break down components of the project in phase, by subject matter, and then on the bottom of the WBS, we have the lowest level subdeliverables, and for each lower level subdeliverable, we will be identify the activities and write them down in the work packages. So let's suppose that these small pieces here are the work packages. So what we do when you do a linear project management, we use a linear project management approach. We plan the scheduling, the human resource, the budgeting, the risk, procurement, communication. We do the planning for all the work packages, for all the activities at once. When we get a project plan, we have a project plan to execute all the activities. And then what's happened when the project plan is approved? We start working in each work package, do the execution, but all work packages that were identified before, we start working on those work packages, then we start getting the subdeliverables, the deliverables, and then we get the project done. So what's important to understand here? In that type of approach, that's a linear project management approach, we plan all the work package together, all the activities at the same time. they get a schedule, human resource, budget, procurement, risk, communication. And that's very important. So in that type of environment, we try to anticipate all the tasks, anticipate all the problems and risks and budget, and then we start execution of the entire project together. That is different from what we see as agile project management or adaptive project management. In that type of adaptive project management, what we have is that, let's suppose that each square here, blue square, is one work package. In agile project management, we do a kind of WBS, a scope in which we identify the project requirements, so you can lay out some activities that needs to be done. But we do a planning just for some work package. We prepare the plan just for some work package, and we just execute that group of work packages. So we don't have an approach in which you'll be planning and executing for the whole project, just for a piece of work or some components of the project. And what that allows us that you can deliver small pieces or some pieces of the project. The customer can look to that piece of project, and we can have a feedback. We have a feedback, and you can review the remaining tasks. In some case, we may have to add new tasks. The customer can add new tasks. And then we go for the second cycle. So you may decide in the second cycle, we'll be doing maybe 2 activities. We take that, we plan for these 2 activities, we execute, and then we go and come back and have a feedback. So what's happened when we are using Agile Project Management? First, we are not planning the whole project at once. We are planning just for part of the project. Second, because we are just delivering pieces of the project in cycles, we can evaluate the outcome of the first cycle, and that feedback can help us to improve the second deliverable, and you'll be adding up until you have the whole project. Let's just show how that's work in that visual, okay? Let's say if I can show that in that visual aspect. So again, you have to have some kind of pre-project phase in which you evaluate cost benefits, business case, and selecting the right project. Then you have the kickoff, and then we have some kind of initiation. We have to define the scope, and here we are defining the whole scope. And you go for the planning. Okay, so when you define the scope, we have I like to use the WBS as a technique to define the scope. Okay, but now there is a catch. Instead of planning for all the work package, what we do, we get some components of the project. Okay, some components of the project. Can you see that I'm taking that green, blue, and brown, something like that? And I'm going and I'll be doing the planning, scheduling, human resource, procurement, just for those pieces. I complete the planning for these 2 pieces. Then I execute just that 3 pieces, and I deliver those 3 pieces. That's the first cycle. From here, the client may be happy with the product or unhappy, okay? Or unhappy. And we can get a feedback from the client. We use that feedback to come back here and reevaluate the remaining pieces of the project. We reevaluate the remaining pieces. If the client is happy, you continue and go and select other pieces. So we have a second round. Now I will be taking just another piece of my project. I'll be planning that piece. Okay, I'll be planning that piece, and I'll be delivering that piece. And now I have another piece here that I delivered. Okay, again, at that time, we can show now the client has 2 pieces of the project, and he can evaluate that and provide feedback, and we can go for other cycle of execution. And in that other cycle of execution, I select some pieces, some activities, I execute the activity, and then after some cycles, we can deliver the whole product for the client. But now the chances of the client be satisfied with the project is higher than before because we have some intermediate checks with the client. That's why we call that second methodology adaptive project management. And I'm just using the word that we use the most, that agile project management. Okay, so that is the agile project management and the comparisons with the linear project management approach. So what is agile? And there is several frameworks, some methodologies. I'll be discussing this class, just one of them that's called Scrum. So the agile framework, the project is organized around delivering working product. It means that you have to deliver something that works, but it's a piece of the project in increments with a fixed time. That time can vary from 1 to 4 weeks. 2 weeks is the most common, but what we decide here that you'll be delivering some type of some type of work every 2 weeks. And that's create a iterative approach. What is an iterative approach? Iterative approach is something that we do once, check the result, we use the result to input and do a second step, a third. So you use the previous step as an input for the second step. And I like to call that, we can try and then do another cycle and do. So try, evaluate, and do. Try, evaluate, and do. Try, evaluate, and do. Okay? And that's the idea. Each iteration of that execution, we call that sprint. So each cycle of execution, we call that sprint. Okay? Each cycle, we call that sprint. Sprint. So each cycle, so if you go back to that diagram, each one of those cycles here, we call in Agile project management, Scrum, we call that sprint. Sprint. So in that diagram, we had 3 sprints. The yellow sprint, that was the first, then the purple sprint, and then the blue sprint. Okay, we have 3 sprints. So the sprint is that cycle of execution. Okay, so we do that, you show that working piece of product to the stakeholders, clients, users, the team. If the client say that he likes that, you can go for the second sprint and third sprint until the goals are met and the project ends. That word grateful is a little bit strong for me. No project in my life has ended gracefully. Okay, so that is the idea. But anyway, it's there, and that's what we call iterative approach.